Welcome into another episode of Cheat Code Weekly, where we discuss everything video game collecting and investing. And this week we have a great topic here because it revolves around the idea of paying premium pricing for premium condition. It talks about the multipliers that you might want to pay for 9.6, 9.8, but also just in general as an average collector, as someone who maybe isn't as deep in the sealed or graded scene whatsoever. It's not always about simply paying the lowest price. That's what this is going to be revolve around here. Because in this hobby, in a general sense, people always want to pay as little as possible. I don't think it's specific to video game collecting, but oh my God, man, do I see it a lot within this hobby where like nickel and diming on everything that price charting says, right? That is the Bible. People will, so long as you're below whatever price chart says, you're getting a good deal, quote unquote. And condition is seen as the secondary qualifier. It's like a lot of people don't even consider condition. They'll share something on Reddit or share something on their collection, and it's like, hey, just picked up this game for $50, say, and price charting says 66, and their copy has a ripped up box, the manual's covered in stickers, the cartridge. You know what I mean? You get people who are truly just want to get the cheapest possible thing, and it's not really an optimal way to go about collecting, especially if you start considering the financial side of it. And even if you're, you won't see this as much if you're into hard case games. I get it. Xbox 360, PS2, GameCube. The conditional gaps that you're going to get on that is a lot lower than you're going to see on conditional gaps with NES, N64, Super Nintendo stuff. It just kind of is what it is. But still, even as we talk about conditional premiums and I talk about hard case here, how many of you guys listening have ever taken a GameCube game or a 360 game and you've actually taken the cover art out of the game and like looked at it to see how divoted, dinged, crinkled, water damage? Have you ever checked for water damage on that? Henry, have you ever taken out a cover art for a game?
I only collect seals, so I wouldn't be able
You
to
don't
take it
even
out
get in there.
anyway.
You never did CIB like anything with hard
No,
case?
of course I did. I had my collection, but I never took out the cover art. People don't. It's not a like uniform thing to do. People don't know to do it. That's it.
And it's like obviously there are conditional nuances with that. Like you will have your cover arts that have different condition, manuals will be different, crinkles, but with this CIB disc stuff, hard case, I mean, you hardly see conditional premiums. Scratch disc, people are aware of scratch discs, but I would say people should be way more picky with hard case stuff than they are right now because the prices are so close. People should only be accepting the best because you might be paying like $5 to $10 more to get like mint versus your typical used copy for a lot of stuff. In the cardboard era, then it's obvious, right? You look at an N64 game, you look at a Super Nintendo game in good condition versus one that's in like used condition, it's obvious. But still, people are going for the lowest price possible rather than trying to actually optimize your condition with your pricing. It's like that equilibrium thing, that goes and slides, and you want to try and actually you want to actually do something on both sides of the scale. And in basically every hobby that exists, especially over time, right? Like if we were to go back to 2013 when you were collecting, if you were someone who actually put effort and money into buying premium condition stuff, or even just above average good condition stuff, you're almost always rewarded. Like so long as the hobby keeps moving, so long as video game collecting keeps moving, your stuff will appreciate more over time if you actually try to optimize or pay a bit for premium condition. And it's not about chasing at any price, doing all this stuff. I get it. You can overpay for stuff as well. But it's the best thing you can do, I guess, right now as a collector is get away from price charting. Understand why price chart sucks and how it is holding back people. Like it literally, it's a great resource. I get it. But if you start quoting price charts, you are going to be distinctly average because price charts is the average. So you're going to start going after average stuff or even below average stuff as you try to get pricing that is also below average. With like a CIB Earthbound or a CIB Chrono, you can see actual conditional premiums that are like hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars, especially as we get into the graded side of things more and more and more. And that the arbitrage still exists with that, with people buying raw games that people say are mint or whatever and getting them graded because there is actually a special condition versus your run of the mill stuff.
I think a lot of collectors, longtime collectors, actually understand that conditional rarity. Even we're not even talking about graded, just like CIB. Like you see people pay up for cardboard copies of like non-hard case games. Like there are premiums on the price charting. It's not. There's like multiples above the price charting price
Yeah.
for really nice mint stuff. People do pay up for it, but like you said, like for hard case, people just don't know to look at the cover art, like or they don't care enough to look at the divots. So it definitely is a area where there's definitely opportunity in it because no one cares about it right now.
With hard
And you
case,
don't have to pay up that much more for it. So
with cardboard, right? You say like people are paying more. They are. It's just
yeah.
you have so many people who like think of your average person who goes into a game store, right? And they'll see sitting there, maybe it's a boxed copy of Super Mario All-Stars on Super Nintendo, and it's in fantastic shape. But the price is like 10% above price charts. And they're like, oh, like, why is my game store asking so much? It's like it's getting over the hump for your average person that paying above price charts for premium condition is almost always worth it. It's understanding how to actually use eBay completed listings to assess condition versus a single price point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But I think those type of collectors who don't inherently understand that conditional factor and the premium pricing to it, they're just not the right people for that game. I think for the people who want to pay more for it are going to pay more for it. They understand, oh, I want the nicer copy because over time, this thing is a lot more rare than just run the mill copy.
I think those people, I guess what I would say is like start understanding it. If you're one of those people watching this by chance, like
Yeah,
start understanding that because we're going to get more into graded examples here in a second. You almost always see this type of stuff, like premium stuff, better condition stuff, outpace everything. Even if stuff starts dropping in price, your premiums can still keep going up. The premium condition, high grade stuff can still do its own trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, so it's very obvious for graded stuff because you have a fat number to tell
Yeah.
you what the condition is.
It gets
It
way
is a little
easier.
bit harder. It's a little bit harder for like a raw copy, but you can sometimes tell like this copy is just a lot nicer. But for example, in sports cards, right, like the granddaddy of all pop culture collectibles. Let's use a PSA 9 and PSA 10 Fleer 86 Fleer Jordan as an example. So about 15 years ago, a PSA 9 sells for around $1,800. And then recently, it just the latest sale in 2025, it sold for 17K. So it's about a 10x increase from 1,800 to 17K. Now, when you look at a PSA 10 copy, 15 years ago in 2010, it sold for about $6,500. So the difference between PSA 9 and PSA 10 was about 3x. Now, the most recent sale for PSA 10 is $160,000.
I didn't realize it was still like man, that's juicing.
It's still 160,000. Yeah, I mean the peak was selling for like 700-800K.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like even now, it's 160K. So if you bought it 15 years ago, you've like 25x your money, basically. And then now the difference between a PSA 9 and a 10 is 10x versus 15 years ago when it was only a 3x. So if sports cards can do it, so can games. Like I know a lot of people they like to say, especially on Reddit, you go play your games or whatever. But whenever you're looking at a collectible market, I don't think video games is anything special compared to anything else. I think as a pop culture collectible, as a mass manufactured item, it should be the same as comics. It should be the same as TCG and sports cards and stuff. So if sports cards can have that premium over time, so can games. So can graded games.
Yep. And that's why, like, when you see this gap rising between the 10 and the 9, the 9's almost stagnant, which again goes back to what I'm saying here. If we talk about some of these NES games or Super Nintendo RPGs where you have a registration card, maps, you have manuals inside, your boxes are all black. Like, you know how hard it is to find a mint Super Nintendo box. It's damn near impossible. The stuff there, like getting something that is above average, let's just say a 9.0, 9.2, because I think like your average person saying minty is what, like an 8.5? Yeah, your average
Yeah,
collector.
about 8.85. Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So if you can get something that's actually above that threshold without having to pay a ludicrous amount, because yeah, some graded stuff, even some graded CIBs, I get it. They sell for a lot of money. The premiums are large. But if you can just assess condition with your eyes, you can pay like you can pay less than the premium otherwise would cost. And that stuff very, very, very likely will outpace your average price stuff. You know what I mean?
Average price charting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
your
like tripping
average
over
price
my own
charting
words
thing.
here.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, I get
It's
it.
hard to do the same chart with the, like you gave the beautiful example with the PSA 9 and 10 Flair Jordans. I did
Yeah.
look at like Mario 3 just to see if we could do quick graded ones, but it's like trying to find pricing data now pre 2019 is extremely difficult.
Oh
And
yeah, it's most of the sale prices happened in the last 2 to 3 years. So this was already after the 2021 crash and everything like that. Because 2021 prices, like you said, you can overpay for stuff. Anyone who's paying for top of pop stuff in 2021 is probably at least down 50% on
well,
most of the
man,
items
I
anyway.
even in July 2020, Mario 3 9.8A plus had already gotten to $20,000. And then
Wow.
10 months later, it was 52,000.
Yeah. And then
Like,
now a 9A plus is about 10K.
yeah, it's
So
about 10K. It's
yeah,
one of those
you can
things where, you know,
overpay.
I can say like, oh, pay the premiums, get the best of condition. Like, it can go wrong if the wrong market conditions exist. So
Yeah.
like, you know, I just want to preface by don't chase. You can also screw up by just chasing the nicest of the nice and paying any kind of price. There really is a happy medium here you have to
Yeah.
achieve.
But I would say the market now in early 2025 has definitely stabilized
Yes.
since then. Both you and I agree that the market bottom happened in 2023,
Yeah.
and prices since then have stabilized, if not gone up a little bit, but it's definitely not booming. So
Yeah,
I
normal
would
market
say
conditions, I would call it now.
normal market conditions. So we do have a lot of sales when it comes a lot of sales when it comes to SMB3. So let me just quickly talk about it. Your average raw copy on eBay that's like probably 8.0 condition goes for around $800, and that equals around the same price as a graded copy that's around an 8.0. A nice minty raw copy that looks to be around like a 9.4 on eBay goes for around $1,700, and that equates to around a graded 9.0 copy. And then when you go to a 9.4, that's when you get a little bit more of a premium. So around 9.4A is 3K, and then 9.4A plus gets you about 3.8K. So it's about a 20% bump up from A to A plus. And same thing from a 9.6 from a 9.4A plus and 9.6A plus is also about a 20% bump up. It goes to around 5K. And the big jump where you see is between a 9.6A plus and a 9.8A plus. So it goes from 5K to 10K. So that's where you get your double up. And then from a 9.8A plus to 9.8A plus plus, that extra plus gets you another double up because, and we talked about this before, when you're talking about the A plus plus seal, it matters more at the top end because that's where you can actually differentiate your copy versus like a 9.2A plus versus 9.4A plus plus is, there's a difference, but it's not that big of a difference.
Well,
So
looking at this, I mean, the optimal place to come in almost seems like a 9.4 A plus. Just because you start getting into like the 2x premiums to go up to your 9.6, your 9.8.
sure.
Um, but see, so I can say that, right? I can say, like, oh, it looks like 9.4 A plus is good value. But I genuinely do think that the 9.6s and 9.8s will probably outpace your 9.4 as more time passes.
And you do have to understand that, this is SMB3, copies exist out there.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about a rarer game, that these multiples might be more out of whack when it comes to top end stuff. But because examples exist and because we had a lot of sales of it, we're pretty confident in these multiples. And also the thing about the 9.4 is that these minty copies, these near mint copies do exist on
Minty
eBay.
is that?
Minty, near mint, 9.4 is
Minty.
like near mint. They do exist on eBay. You can buy a near 9.4 copy for half of what you would get if you graded a 9.4. So there's your your premium, your raw to grade premium, your raw to grade money making opportunity. If you can find a really nice minty copy and then grade it and then sell for like a double up.
No,
Okay.
that's like why I think because you can do this still, right? Because this arbitrage exists in such a big way still from buying raw, getting it graded and selling it for a premium
A
that the
nice
most
raw copy.
what, sorry?
Nice raw. A
Yeah,
nice raw
nice rock.
copy.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, isn't what did you say here? Can't you even like grade an 8.0 and you're still like doing decent?
If you
Yeah,
grade
yeah, close to
8.0,
raw, close to raw.
it's 8.0 is close to raw. That's not really worth it. But then when you get the actual double up, it's a nice raw minty copy is around 1,700 bucks. If it grades a 9.4 A plus, you could
Yeah,
get 3.8K. So that's a double up, right?
yeah. And yeah, that's what I'm saying here. When you can
That's a double
actually
up.
learn how to assess condition, you learn where paying the premium is more than worth it. So it's
Yeah.
like, don't just avoid the nice copy that costs 1.7K because, oh, I got my Mario 3 for 800 bucks. And it's like,
Yeah.
you can do so much better in so many ways if you actually learn where the premium should be paid and how to assess condition.
So my the pedestal that I'm gonna stand on is that I think the 9.8 A plus plus should be even more than what it is now.
It's a
So
2x
the
right now,
different
hey, give or take.
it's around a 2x, yeah, a 2.5x. But when you're talking about like cards like between PSA 9 and 10, when you have a 10x difference, I understand a 9.8 plus maybe isn't like a PSA 9, but if we use like a BGS 9, for example, a BGS 9 Fleer 86 to PSA 10, there's a 3 to 5x
I
multiplier
assume you're talking
between that.
995.
Yeah, BGS 9.5. Yeah,
95.
BGS 9.5, near mint copy.
Yeah.
There's a 3 to 5x difference between that and a PSA 10. And I would argue that a 98 plus plus is like a PSA 10, and then the BGS 9.5 is like a 98 plus.
Yeah, I would agree with
So
that.
I'm arguing that if the 98 plus is 10K, then 98 plus plus should be at least 30K to 50K. That's my argument because
Yeah,
that's what cards
I
is.
don't even necessarily disagree with you. I just think that a lot of people because you have to wait. Like if you're not gonna buy a 9.8 A plus plus and sell it next year, well, maybe you could, but you know what I mean? You're probably not gonna sell it next year for a any profit, to be honest. Like it's
Yeah,
gonna
no,
take
you're probably going to lose money if you sell it next year, to be honest. Yeah.
you might,
Mark is
right?
thin
You
up
might.
there.
So I think that's kind of where we are though now is people are afraid of paying a lot of the massive premiums because I
Mm,
think a lot of the downfall is still more fresh in everyone's minds than the run up. So
yeah,
and
that's
you
fair.
know what I mean? Until that confidence comes back where we see, and I think it is, I think it slowly is, the confidence is coming back where you can spend thousands of dollars on a video game without losing your ass. Um, we'll start seeing that multiple grow as the big money people dictate that side of the things. So if we get
Yeah.
more big money people at the 9.8 A plus plus side of things, and this is the same with premiums on a lower scale, people with money can pay more money. And people with money oftentimes go for premium stuff, exclusive stuff, special stuff. Um
Yeah. Makes
that's
sense.
kind of though they will dictate the market more than anyone paying the lowest prices possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
Rising
sense.
rising tide type thing.
Yeah. And if we talk about WATA 10s, like, I don't think we've had enough sales for it. But if we use, for example, like a Switch game, like the WATA 10s do
Yep, yeah.
sell
What Switch
there.
is dominated by the tens right now.
Yeah, so like a 988 plus plus Mario Wonder is like around 120 bucks, right? And then from that to a 10, it's 500 bucks or something like
Yep,
that,
give or
right?
take 500, 600. I think there's
Yeah,
still something
so
on eBay right now.
yeah, so there it's about a 5x multiplier. That I would say that's what 988 plus plus to a 10 is. But I think it's also different, like for because Switch is attainable when you're talking about higher price items S&P 3, when you talk about 20, 30K, it's probably not a 3 to 5x. It's probably more like a 3x multiplier, I'd say.
Yeah, the multiplier has to change. I agree. You can't. It's not an exact science.
It's not
But
exact science.
with the Switch games, I am curious, right? So we say buy the better premium condition, all this stuff, chase after the nicest. So you can get your tens for $500-600, let's say, 5x over your 9.88 plus plus. Is it worth it? Is that the play for Switch stuff? Should you chase your black label copies?
If you want to buy Switch, you should buy tens. But I'm not a buyer of them. I don't know if you are, but
Do you
I'm not a
think
buyer.
do you think they're overpriced?
I think for games that still exist, and a lot of them do, okay, it's different if you're talking about first print Breath of the Wild,
Well, you can't
because
get that stuff for $500.
exactly you can't get it anymore, and like
You're
those
getting copies
tens,
of like
they
Odyssey third print, Breath third
yeah,
print, Mario Wonder,
exactly.
Brotherhood, RPG. Like, you're getting.
If you're talking about stuff that you can't actually readily get, then I understand paying the premium for it. Now like the VJ 95 plus going for 12K, I don't know if that's the price that you should be paying for it, but I understand you going after that. But if you're talking about Mario Wonder third print, a 10, like they exist out there. So I don't know how special they are, just even for you to get them in the 10.
Yeah, it's the most special thing you can do with Switch because
Yeah,
okay,
it's
yeah,
the
you
most
say they're
special
out
thing.
there. Like I honestly think, oh man, this is so hard. It's like, do I think there's more opportunity in buying your 9.88 plus plus for $120? Like, will you make money faster doing that or paying $500-600 for the 10? Which one will actually appreciate in price first?
I think 10.
Okay, so there you
Yeah.
go. Then buy the tens. Like it's
It,
everything we're
but
saying.
only if you want to buy the 10, though. You don't have to buy the 10. Like I wouldn't be a buyer of case pack tens, to be
Yeah,
honest. But I
it
understand it's the entry ramp for people. Like, yeah, 300 to 500, like $500 is still a lot of money, but at
yeah.
least it's the perfect grade. At least it's the perfect grade. It's Switch, it's super collectible, and it's people's entry ramp. They know
You're
that
buying black
they
labels.
got the perfect
I
copy.
put it
Yeah, you're
akin to
buying black
black label
labels.
Pokemon chasing, right? Because we
Yeah,
see like crappy Pokemon in BGS black label will sell for like two, three, $400 for like Chandelure just because it's a black label. So it's
yeah,
like if this hobby can take on any kind of semblance to that we see in cards, I do think that these $500-600 tens, yeah, yes, there'll be more. There will be. I get it, but like, I think it is your best shot of having a Switch game that might be worth 1,000 plus in
yeah,
what 3 to 5 years. I don't know how long these will take to appreciate. It'll take time. It will take
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Again, you're not going to purchase a $500 Switch game today and like double your money next year. Not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
I
I bought
do
a 10.
think they're going to get stripped off the market eventually. Then you can do something with them.
Like, oh, you're talking about the death of media, the death of
No, no, no,
physical
no, no.
media.
Just even
Oh,
like you say, there's going to be more coming out. 1 to 2 years, I think most of the case packs will be cracked and stuff. I don't think
yeah,
people are going to
that's
sit
fair.
on a ton of case packs. I just don't.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It
But you
just
want the first print of games. You don't want the third print Mario Wonders though.
no, I know
You want
those.
the
Well,
first
those
print.
are junk.
Yeah,
Anything like let's say New Horizons or
yeah,
like you know what I mean?
yeah.
Ones where
I
you're
get
at
you.
least getting, or I think it's the only print that exists. I don't even think there is a second print on New Horizons. So it's just
Mm,
like your brilliant diamonds, your pearls,
mm,
stuff like that.
mm. Hey, you want to talk about buy, sell, hold? About a
Yeah,
game
you're
that
you're done
actually
with you're
rose
done with
up?
my Switch.
No, no. I mean,
No, no,
just
I
buy
know.
the
I'm just
tens.
kidding.
Just buy the tens if you want, price appreciation potential.
Yeah, just
But
just
make sure,
consider premium condition. Don't try to pay the least you can is the big takeaway. Just
yeah.
try to make a nice balance between condition
Don't,
and price.
don't overpay for water CGC 10. Pay the five to $600. But yeah, if you want to buy Switch, you should buy the tens. That's it. Uh, buy, sell,
Yeah,
hold.
yeah.
Sonic
Buy
Genesis. Yeah.
Sega Genesis Sonic the Hedgehog. I have a lot of thoughts actually about this. This is an interesting
Okay.
one.
Well, first of all, it's one of the few games that actually went up in price in 2024. So in May of 2024, 96A second print sold for 20K. And then also in May of 2024, 98 B plus KA rating last print sold for 7.5K. And then also in that same auction, I guess, 92 A plus second print sold for 13K. So not bad.
Did this variant matter on this? Because we were saying first print, second print. What is it? Made in Japan versus
I think
printed
it's
in
like
Japan?
South San Francisco address. I think it's the
Okay.
address in the back. Yeah, that makes a
Yeah,
difference.
do you think
I
that's
think
like
I think in the long term it will, but it's also like one of those things where when you're looking at like a round seal NES game, like the difference between a Rev A and a non-Rev A, like it exists there, you can see it, but it's not a huge difference when you're
yeah.
talking about just like address change. So
I think
I
so
think
long
you
as
should
the
just get
auction listing says first print, you're safe. Like, you know what I mean? It will matter.
yeah. Yeah, you should try to go after a first print, but I mean they don't exist that much. They're pretty rare,
Oh
actually. I
no, I
think.
know. Like Sonic
Yeah,
1 in general, I guess if you're watching this, you don't know. Sonic 1 on Genesis factory sealed is like it's a grail of grails, man. That is like
it
it
is.
doesn't exist. It has Mario World syndrome, right? Where every copy was included with a console, so no one bought Sonic
Yeah,
1. Is that the
yeah,
or is
yeah.
it
I think. Yeah, I remember I had a pack in Sonic one when I bought my
like
Genesis.
I thought it was also a pack-in, yeah. So
Yeah,
that like no one
it was
had
a
to
pack
buy
in.
it, so it didn't it's just extremely difficult factory sealed.
Yeah,
So if we're talking like, 9.6A plus first print is oh man, 20 some $1,000, hey?
that was a 96A, not an A plus.
Oh my
Nine
God.
six A for 20K. No, but when
And
you're
a
talking
second print.
Yeah, when you're talking about a game that you can overpay for, during a pandemic, these games were selling for like 200, 300K. So it's a big fall from grace, I would say. It's a big fall from grace.
I forgot Sonic got that expensive, man.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Sonic the Hedgehog. We have the movies right now. Sonic is, I guess, as popular as he's ever been. Well, no, you know what I mean. In the past 10
Yeah.
years, Sonic is relevant again. The movies are
Yeah.
really doing wonders to the character. Um, CIB is damn near worthless still on first prints. Um, were you gonna say something there about the
No,
CIBs?
it's like a hard case game. Like it when you talk about CIBs for hard case games, they just don't have
Can't
that
even register, it
conditional
doesn't matter.
factor. Yeah, they don't have that of like conditional factor anymore. When you talk about cardboard, you like you crush the boxes and all that stuff. But when you talk about hard case games, it's a little bit hard to get to that premium level when you talk about CIB.
So Sonic, if you're going to drop, let's say 10 to 15,000, 20,000 for a 9.6A, my brain goes back to Mario Bros. 1. I'm going to buy a Mario Bros. 1, 9.2, 9.4 for 10 to $15,000. So at that kind of price point, I can get a Sonic second print or a last print Mario Bros. And I just don't understand why I would put my money into Sonic rather than Mario at that kind of price point. And I like Sonic. I would love to own one at some point, but it's like at that kind of price point, I just don't like Sega enough personally. Like I am not a big enough Sonic fan to ever plant that kind of money into it. I would have to get a steal of a deal on one, or it's just too much for me. Like, isn't it like rivaling Chrono Trigger? It's like getting up there, man. Like it's I don't know. You can buy
It's
anything.
more expensive. It's more expensive Chrono Trigger if you consider A Seal not so good. So
Where are you on
it's
it? I just don't think I can ever recommend someone to buy it at this kind of pricing.
I would say if you have everything else that you want, you should get a Sonic. You should try to get a Sonic, but if you don't have a Mario, you should probably get Mario first and then get
Yeah,
Sonic.
it feels like there's
When you
just so much more than
when you're
Sonic.
talking about tiers, right? Like Sonic is maybe a tier two IP
Yeah.
because the games aren't relevant anymore. They haven't been for God nears 15 years. They're just relevant now because the movies are, are kid friendly or whatever. But it's still a gaming franchise. So if you don't have the games behind it to like really bolster its popularity, I don't know how long this popularity is going to last.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think if I wanted to make a play on Sonic, I would sooner tell someone to go buy every CIB first print they can find on eBay right now. Just as nice as you can, buy up CIB first prints and sit on them. Because you can still get them for like $50. Because no one knows. No one knows what a first print Sonic is.
South San Francisco, I think that's the address. I think that's the first print.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, but you know what I mean? Like most people listing a Sonic are just going to list it CIB, so it's like I don't know. If you want to play on Sonic, do that. It scares me. It just scares me. Sonic scares me.
It's too expensive for you.
It
It's
is.
probably too expensive for me too. For
I just
96A,
yeah,
20K.
there's better stuff in my opinion that you can do other than Sonic. It's cool. I'd love it. I'd love it if it was cheaper. Obviously, I'd sit here, yeah, $5,000, but like nothing I can do at that price point.
I think it's expensive because there's just not a lot of copies out there.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
that's what it is.
If it was at all more common, it would not cost what it does.
It would be 5K. It would be 5K.
Yes.
20K.
Yes. If you told me the price of Sonic rivaled that of Mario 3, I'd be like, oh yeah, like that makes sense to me. Like that's perfect. But different levels of rarity completely. It just is what it is. Let us know what you think of Sonic down below. Are we too harsh on it? I am curious. Like, how do you guys see Sonic now in 2025? But huge thanks for listening, you guys. Let us know any comments down below, and we'll see you guys next week.